television who are full of shit. Like, I found out this when I was in Philadelphia. That's how long ago it was. A lot of guys, and they're friends of mine, we'd be playing golf, and I'd say, what are you going to talk about today on the radio? They're like, blah, 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 blah. I says, wait, you going to talk about that? You don't believe it? He says, no, I don't believe that. But, Charles, these fools going to call in and argue with me for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? He said, Charles, we're trying to get viewers. We ain't. And I said, so when I got my job, I said, I want to always be authentic and truthful, because if I said something, I want people to, even if they disagree, because I don't think I'm right all the time, but ain't nobody going to be able to say, Charles said this to get clicks or whatever. I'm never going to do that, especially being a brother, because it's going to be few and far between for us. So we have to really handle our business.
Welcome to BodyWork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to BodyWorkBoxing. Adversity University has enrolled 3 more boxers. Boxers that I follow, boxers that I like. We all know about Frank Martin. He is a boxer that I like. Unfortunately, he had to go up against the likes of Gervonta Tank Davis. Also, Subriel Matias, one of the 2 big boogeymen at 140 pounds, suffered a loss. And lastly, GaryAntuanneRussell suffered a defeat for a WBC interim title shot against AlbertoPuello. Puello used to have the title, popped hot, came back. They got it on, and that was for the strap that Devin Haney has. So the belt holder of that strap is now entitled to fight Devin Haney. So he has to make a decision. I believe he was going to purse bid for Sandor Martin, who's been waiting in the wings ever since he had a shot at Regis. Long story short, well, why did you choose GaryAntuanneRussell? I really like GaryAntuanneRussell. I like the Russell family a lot. I respect them a lot. They always stand on business. They from the area, for one. And I've just been seeing and hearing a lot of things when it comes to Subriel Matias and GaryAntuanne. And ironically, you would think that as a fan of both of them, that I would be with it. But I'm not. And this is one of the reasons why, I don't have to flip-flop. I don't have to flip-flop when it comes to talking about boxers. Why? Because I go by what my eyes see and the facts that I can verify a long time. It's just like when Richardson Hitchens, I'll give you a prime example. When Richardson Hitchens was in my Adversity University, I didn't dog Richardson Hitchens. I said, man, he was in there. It got a little rough for him. I said it didn't look good for him at times, but I said I had him winning. I scored the fight. I said, man, that little dude, I said, I couldn't argue if you would say that the other guy won. I said, but the way I scored it, I wouldn't even argue with a draw, but the way I scored it, I had Richardson Hitchens winning that fight. He didn't look good, even though he was under the IBF. I was one of them guys that said, hey, look, this is for the IBF. We got to consider that. And what wound up happening? As rough as that fight was with Richardson Hitchens coming out with that dub, that's aging like fine wine now. Why? Regis took a hit. Subriel took a hit. GaryAntuanne took a hit. Gustavo Lemos, the guy who he beat, he took a hit. Liam Powell rose up. Puello rose up. These guys are Kenny Sims Jr. is rising up now. Teofimo Lopez, his stock went up a notch with them guys taking a notch down. Now the excuse can be, oh man, but what do they have to offer? Like, they don't have a belt, they don't have this, because they're still tough outs. They still have a skill set. They're still hard to deal with. And contrary to popular belief, with GaryAntuanne being what? I think he was 17-0, 18-0, all stoppages. Subriel Matias was 20-1, all stoppages. His lone defeat, he went back and stopped that guy. And all of a sudden, overnight, you're talking about what, 38-1 combined, all stoppages before the loss, these 2 decision losses. So between 2 fighters, they were 38-0, stopped all of their opponents, and now they're garbage, now they're crap, now they're hype jobs. Now we can't play that game. That's not my gripe today. And I'm not going to allow people to just come by and just on them whenever they want. I'm not going to allow that to happen. But what I am going to do is I'm going to address what we do. I said the same thing when Deontay Wilder lost, and people started crying and saying that, oh man, this, and making up all these things other than what their eyes been seeing. Now with Wilder, it happened to happen over years. It happened where people were saying, hey man, he got to brush up on this, he got to do this, maybe he should run. What's wrong with running? What's wrong with road miles? Oh no, he's the hardest hitting in the world, and Malik got him in this. And I said, oh, be careful, because if you're saying you inherited the hardest puncher in the world, you inherited the hardest puncher to ever exist, to ever put on a pair of gloves, and the guy's still losing, be careful, it might come around and bite you in the tail. And by George, it came around and bit him in the tail. But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the Dubois decision with Usyk, and how Usyk really got stopped by Daniel Dubois to a body shot. Now that was right on the cusp. It was slightly above the belt line, like right on the belt line, slightly above, like where the fist is touching the belt line and the stomach at the same time. This punch was higher than that. And when I see my man, I was, at first glance, I'm like, dang, man, hit my man in the jewels. You know what I'm saying? You know, everybody know how it would feel to get hit in the jewels. If you got some, you know how it would feel. That's nothing to take lightly. But when you see that, and you see the reaction and all this and this and that, and I'm thinking about how people be talking about LeBron and how he flops, and, you know, all these stories when they want to get off and try to smudge or smear the reputation of LeBron, I was thinking about this. I said, man, with instant replay, when people can slow it down, when there are replays and all that, people have knowledge and have seen this, and they're still running around saying that GaryAntuanne got robbed. It would sound very peculiar for me to be one of the ones saying, come on, man, he ain't get robbed. Because that's one of my guys. The thing is, I do not like lying. It's almost like I can't. And what we gotta do, man, this is why boxing talk is getting stale. This is why there's no integrity in boxing talk. This is why people would rather prefer to talk about who's sleeping with who, or, you know, whose wife is doing what, or who filed for this, or what DV charges went to court. That's why it's everything but boxing. Why? Because when it comes down to the nitty gritty, when we have somebody that we really, really like, we do not keep it a buck. We do not keep it a buck. And so what I've been doing, man, I'll probably say the last couple years, what I've been doing, man, is finding a way to feel comfortable being uncomfortable, because nobody is going to say these things. The truth of the matter is, all 3 of these boxers should be in my adversity university. Frank Martin should be, because he got caught up in spar wars, thinking that everything was all about spar wars. It's just like the classic reaction from AI. Practice? That's whenever somebody talk about sparring, that's what I think about. You know, you get news and sometimes you be like, oh, okay, that happened. He actually stopped or dropped or whatever. We don't know what's going on. Leonard Ellerby came on and said, you don't never know what people are doing the night before sparring. Somebody could have had relations. Somebody could have had a night out on the town. They coming in. You never know. Jet lag. You never know what happens with sparring. But Frank's sin was relying on sparring and not being himself in the build up the Tank. Talking about he was going to beat Tank up and he's going to beat this and all this other stuff. And just talking like, not Frank, like, not nothing I know to Frank B. And I don't know him like that, but not anything I've ever seen on Frank. Frank was cool, calm, and collected. I think his whole swag, his whole persona, everything that he said could have worked out better for him had he went back in there with Tank with a different mindset. But he started smelling the roses and the flowers and everybody saying whatever. All these default Devin Haney fans who defaulted over to Frank, who's now defaulting over to Loma or Shakur or Tio, where they're just scattering. So now Frank, the front runner, he's out of the way. But then you have Devin Haney fans who wanted Subriel Matias to lose and also wanted GaryAntuanne. They are ecstatic right now. And a lot of them are the ones running around gloating and praising and this and this, which is fine. All's fair in sports, in fandemonium, and how we go at each other and how we talk about this boxing. That's all fine. My thing is for the people who actually took to Subriel Matias and was saying that he got robbed. He did not get robbed. And like Eddie Hearn said, that fight was not close. Then I hear people saying about GaryAntuanne how he got robbed. He did not get robbed. It's, oh, well, if you would have took the point away. There should have been no point taken away. There was not a low blow. From the looks of things, he hit this man about 4 inches below his pectoralis muscle. So really, unless he got nuts up here on his ribs, that was not a low blow. And we got to think about the politics of boxing when Danny Dubois actually dropped and stopped Usyk. When the referee didn't call it, he stopped Usyk. But the politics of boxing, he would have messed the money up had Dubois would have interjected himself. They could not allow that to have that to go on. I know this is not popular. It's not going to get a lot of likes, clicks, and views, but remember, this is fact-based content, not opinion-based. Fruits and veggies, not that Reggie. And what I seen last night, the other night was, on Saturday night, what I saw was AlbertoPuello outbox GaryAntuanneRussell. GaryAntuanneRussell had his moments where he got inside. He was able to capitalize, get a couple off. But all night, he kept getting caught coming right in the front door. Bam, with a jab. Got caught with a check hook. Bam, coming in. And I was saying before in my breakdown, if you go back and you look at my breakdown on that fight, I said, man, AlbertoPuello can move. He pulled a Houdini on Gary in the corner, where he ducked and pivot out, and Gary was looking around. Gary had a hairstyle going in, and then by the end of the fight, he had hair coming all down in front of his face. I have hair. That's why I was with it. Had hair coming all down where he couldn't see. It was just a lot of things going on, and GaryAntuanne was not his best self that night. He had a hard time getting in clean. I don't think that he jabbed as much. It's a common theory that he does some of his work sometimes. A lot of people are saying that. But we gotta be real, because politics and gossip cannot run boxing. Even though it's good for boxing talk, it's good to get you through your day, it's good for the people that want to flip-flop, like everybody who was one day, oh man, Tank better be ready, and Frank ain't nothing to do, and this and that, and in hindsight, oh man, Frank knew he ain't have no. It's just people want to flip-flop. It's a popularity contest, man, and the only way that we can maintain any kind of integrity in the sport of boxing, for real, is if we just say what we see. If we just say what our eyeballs are seeing, because how can we be mad at somebody like Tim Bradley when we know when he's commenting sometimes on these fighters that he has a bias, or that he's being a company man? Because the opposition, it wouldn't favor Top Rank for the opposition, the one that they're not going for to win. So the commentary is slanted. So how can we slant them when, because we affiliate and we rock with somebody else heavy, we're going to sit up here and act like our eyeballs don't see what they've actually seen? That's where I think the problem is, and you can't go wrong. When I seen Mr. Gary Russell, I mean, again, the other day I seen him doing the interview. He's like, man, he was talking about integrity, honor. You know what I'm saying? These things, like when he was asked, like, what about the Russell and what they stand on. That's really what it's all about. So if we're gonna be real, man, this neither one of them fights, neither one of the boogeymen was a robbery. Were they boogeymen? Yes. Because much like in the Errol Spence suffered a loss. And that loss gave everybody online and whoever can get a mic or get some attention or be able to open up their mouths and say anything about Earl, that gave them the right, because Earl suffered that loss. because Bud went in there and, you know what I'm saying, man down Errol Spence. That gave everybody permission to act like they could just change history, like what happened before that fight didn't happen. Like he didn't get left at the altar, like, you know, somebody wasn't acting like a prima donna, going and go out and doing everything else but trying to make a fight. So that all got wiped away. We can't do that. Them two were the boogeyman, much like Regis. Even though we seen what happened with Regis and Devin, prior to that, it was very hard for Regis to get somebody inside the ring. Zarilla made him look, you know what I'm saying, didn't make him look that well, and that's part of the reason why Devin Haney went ahead to go ahead and take him on. But when you think about it, after the defeat that he suffered to Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis had to take the steps all the way back up. He was one of the most avoided boxers in the game. It's just like with Jamal Charlo in the mental health and the things that the extracurricular things he's gotten himself into and the trouble he gotten himself into the law. It's like as soon as that happened, everybody want to rewrite history. Like the face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez at the time had avoided him. Like Triple G didn't avoid him, you know, for years. But we're not going to do that, man. We're not going to act like the reputation that Subriel Matias had and the reputation that GaryAntuanneRussell had was not what it was. People were not ringing their doorbells or knocking on their door trying to fight those guys. They're still not. They're just going to use the fact that they don't have any hardware right now for them saying, well, why should I fight you? Or, you know, why should I? They're going to play that game. So we're not going to do that, but we're also not going to sit up here and lie and act like we didn't see AlbertoPuello actually outbox GaryAntuanneRussell. It is what it is. GaryAntuanneRussell was very intelligent. He's very smart. He's very resilient. He's cut from that Russell cloth, and you know how they're tough. Mr. Gary Russell got robbed by Mark Macedo. AlbertoPuello and the ref and the judges did not rob GaryAntuanne. I think the ref might have tried, but we got to have some integrity, man, and say what we see. We got to be real, man, and we got to add to boxing. And when I look back at all of the people that was in my adversity university, from the time when El Rayo got stopped and his coach, Benavidez Sr., who I since liked and all that, but at that point in time, he threw Valenzuela smooth under the bus. Threw him smooth under the bus. Didn't take no ownership as a coach, and I think that kind of hurt Rayo. When I look at Gustavo Lemos and Richardson Hitchens, that kind of hurt Richardson Hitchens' stock. But when you look at it, he didn't lose. He had a ugly dub, is what I call it. But his win is aging like fine wine. He stayed out of social media. He didn't agitate everybody. He got his win, and he got on. And we don't know what we're going to hear from him, but he's going to go right back up. When I seen Fundora, him getting stopped in Mendoza, that didn't stop anything. He faced adversity. He's bouncing back. He might be having the biggest fight that he could have imagined, fighting Errol Spence, with a lot of advantages. Coming off a victory over Tim Tszyu, and also getting his biggest payday profit. Also when Tony Harrison went over to Australia, and I did one on him. But when I look back at all these adversity universities, at some point in time, all these boxers want to face adversity. Some of these boxers face adversity outside the ring, but more than likely, as you step up in competition, just like Subriel Matias and GaryAntuanne, and how they try to act like they haven't fought anybody now. Oh, they finally fight somebody, like they haven't. Don't buy into that hype. But at some point in time, as you stepping up your levels in competition, you're fighting in higher weight classes, you're fighting bigger guards, taller guys, you're taking chances by fighting somebody where you don't have all the advantages. I think that it was a point in time where AlbertoPuello had more feet, had better feet. GaryAntuanne probably had a better inside game and probably had more power. But because of the way that AlbertoPuello can pivot and move, and he fights behind a jab, he knows how to counter and pivot, and he's a softball himself, his game was a little bit better. Who knows what'll happen 10 times out of 10 if they were to fight. I want to see the rematch. But let's not be part of the peanut gallery who always trying to win over a new casual fan or try to pledge some fake allegiance to whoever they don't want to offend. The people that I say won't kill nothing or won't let nothing die, they'll come out and, oh yeah, and then right when you can harpoon somebody and get it over with, oh no, let's not flip-flop like that. Let's be firm and let's just start calling what we see. Straight down the middle. It was a hard pill for me to swallow. To see Subriel Matias, Frank Martin go out the way he went out, and GaryAntuanne lose. You know, I mean, they are good guys, man. They're boxers, gladiators, putting their life on the line. But for all of them to go down like that, you know, we know Tank is great. Tank is special. We know what he was going to do. So everybody pretty much counted. I had anywhere between 5 to 8, and that happened. But my other two guys, who were 38 times, they've stopped everybody. Except for one loss between the both of them, and they lose the same time in one night. It happens. But that's all I really had on it, you know. Can we change the talk around boxing? Would that be too much to ask? You know, is it all about politics and favoritism and the group mentality and being down and being popular, or is it really about just having some integrity and just talking about what we actually see? Because that's how a lot of these narratives get started. I just thought it'd be interesting, man. I just wanted to go back through these adversity universities and just add on to it where you'll see these. And I try to do it in a way where I don't really tear the boxes down or do anything like that, man. That's just 10 times 10 language. 100%. No more, no less. Straight up and down. No special effects. Anyway, let me know, man. Hit my comment section. Feel free to help the channel, support the channel if you like the content. Hit my Cash App. Hit my Super Chat. Hit my like button. Hit my share button. Comment. Talk to me. I'll talk back. Thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.